Hi everyone, my name is Caroline Bauerschmidt. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm part of the Seattle Service Corps 2020-2021 year COVID edition. And I'm here to talk to you today about blossoming abundantly. Blossoming abundantly is something I feel like I've been tilling the soil for my whole life. I was gifted with healthy and loved soil and the seed of having God in my life from a young age. I personally view my narrative as a wall of vines, something that is sprung up in so many places, all weaved together to form a story where everything seems disconnected at the start, but has grown together in surprising ways. All the vines that have ever died have simply fertilized the growth of new ones that grow stronger and better every single time. With a sturdy wall of my family and everyone I've ever known and loved supporting me and holding me up to see the sun of God's glory, even if that isn't something that they believe. If I feel it's necessary, I can prune and trim my wall of vines, but most of the time I wouldn't even call myself a gardener, but more of an admirer. I just get to sit in my secret garden on the good days and the bad days and watch my wall weave its magic. But during quarantine, I felt my wall of vines start to decay. My personal relationships were challenged by a new kind of distance that I was not familiar with. My love language is most definitely quality time, and that's how I express my love and affection for people. I'm the kind of friend that just shows up and is okay with doing absolutely nothing because all I want is to be around the person that I care about. Living for almost 4 whole months in complete isolation was really difficult for me. There was no showing up. There was no spontaneous hangouts or late nights spent with friends watching too many episodes of a show. There was just me, my thoughts, and anyone who was willing to talk on the phone. This is what firmly cemented for me the idea that I wanted and needed to be part of an intentional community. As things were getting canceled, like my classes, my graduation, my favorite place in the world, my Episcopal summer camp, and most importantly, my goodbyes were even being canceled. I waited really impatiently for an email telling me that my post-graduation service year had been canceled too. Lucky for me, though, there was a whole community of people working hard to make sure that we could pull this caper off. I now have a house full of people to come home to every day and an office full of people who know my name and that look forward to seeing me. I love being an essential worker at Real Change and the community that it brings me. I welcome vendors in and I sell them the paper, and I get to celebrate with them each and every little victory and mourn with them for each and every sorrow and hardship. We talk sometimes in the office about a thing called compassion fatigue, when every day you're asked to give all of yourself and more, yet somehow still fall short of what people need. This is what draws people to leave the nonprofit sector. But the opportunity I have is to do whatever I can to be there for the people in my office, because I know that there's an expiration date on this experience for me, and that someone bright-eyed and bushy-tailed will come in and bring something new from the new SSC year and bring that same alleviation for compassion fatigue to hard workers who really deserve it. But for now, I get to show up every day for people, my favorite thing in the world. I would really like to say that the Seattle rain was all I needed to bring my wall of vines back to life, but it was really the choice to get out of my chair and to be a gardener, to grab a watering can of community and water my vines. Not every day is easy, but not every day is hard with all these wonderful people blossoming beside me. I hope you have a great day and enjoy the rest of the videos.
Heyo, I'm April Little. I'm from Ashburn, Virginia, and my service placement was with the Church Council of Greater Seattle, where I do community organizing focused on housing justice. This is my Blossom Abundantly story. When I think of how I ended up in the Seattle Service Corps, I think of the wild spiritual journey I've taken during the past 4 years of my life. I grew up evangelical, holding many of the conservative beliefs that come with that label. But during my first semester of college, that belief system started to crumble as I saw my church celebrate the 2016 election of Donald Trump, one of my relatives passed away, and As I failed to live up to my perfectionistic expectations of college life, I relapsed into depression. I doubted God's goodness, asked question after question, and became very disillusioned with the Christianity I had been taught. Throughout college, I did research into various topics, including pro-LGBTQ+ theology, and because of that, I became affirming and was able to do the work in myself to come to terms with my own queer identity. Although I experienced many challenges, all kinds of uprooting and faith deconstruction, I believe that my college was the soil God grew me in, that these storms were watering me. But this garden still wasn't necessarily healthy. After all the earth-shattering changes in my process of self-discovery, the land was more like ash-dusted flowers and scorched grass. Coming to the Seattle Service Corps, I wanted to cultivate this rocky ground, this wilderness, to be something more. I wasn't sure exactly where God was calling me in life. I needed a space of discernment, not just for questions of vocation, but for how I wanted to live and practice my faith. In October, I attended an organizing training that the lead organizer at the church council led. Something he talked about that really stuck with me is this concept of nephesh. It's a word from the original Hebrew in the Old Testament, often translated as soul. He described the word nephesh as meaning the ensouled one who has a body. We as human beings are made up of parts that are all connected, but our society sometimes separates these parts of ourselves. My coworker explained that one of the essential tasks of organizing, then, is to embody the essential unity of nephesh, to see others as whole human beings and resist the structures that divide us. I left the training that night feeling so grateful, and I couldn't quite explain why I felt that way then, but I can now. I realized it was because in college I'd done hard work to learn these truths. They were never something I had taken for granted. The church I grew up in taught me to compartmentalize myself, to check off boxes, and it also taught me to see others as broken. This was a spirituality of scarcity and fear. It took me years of digging into the soil of more progressive theology to find that I wasn't broken, that in fact this belief that sin separated me from God like a chasm between us had been holding me back from all that God had in store for me. I realized how healing it was to have these truths about humanity affirmed in this space, and it made me so thankful for the journey I've been on and how it's prepared me for the work I'm doing now. After going through the deep work of faith deconstruction and healing from religious trauma, I finally get to live the abundant life that Jesus spoke of. I get to practice my newfound beliefs about the beloved community of God. We aren't waiting for heaven, we're bringing it about here and now, bringing about the good news for the poor, the oppressed made free. These are beliefs I had to dig for with my own bare hands. This framework may not be new to some, but it is to me, and it is a great gift. I am grateful that Seattle Service Corps has allowed me to continue blossoming in how I live out my transformed faith day to day. In this new soil, and through the cultivating and harvesting I've been able to do through my work and community life in the Seattle Service Corps, I am now putting down roots and wildflowers are blooming. These roots compel me to do the work of faith-based justice work as a long-term vocation. I know there's so much more to discover, plots of soil I have yet to dig into, plant seeds, and cultivate. I can't wait to see how God continues to show up in the midst of it, always surprising me with what sprouts up from the once dry ground.
Hi, my name is Grace Atia. I'm originally from Northern Illinois, and my service partner is Mercy Housing Northwest, where I'm the Early Learning Access Coordinator. And here's my story. As a child, my mother taught me that God is like a waterfall, and we are all standing under God's waterfall with umbrellas. There are rare and precious moments when we lift our umbrellas higher, and we can feel some mist from the waterfall and the presence of the Holy Spirit. Moments like these are God's way of telling us that we are exactly where we're supposed to be. For me, these moments have happened when I've been honest with myself about who I am and where I want to be. I love being an Episcopalian. I consider it to be a cornerstone of who I am, but there have been moments where I've hidden that part of me. The parish in my college town was not LGBT affirming, so I stopped regularly going to church. I also felt uncomfortable openly discussing my faith with my friends. They respected my religion, but it wasn't something we had in common, and I certainly didn't want to come off as trying to evangelize them. So I kept that part of me to myself. This left me ignoring an aspect of my life that I considered foundational to who I am. At the same time, I was re-examining another aspect of my life. Ever since I was a kid, I was sure I wanted to be an elementary school teacher. The path to this career was straightforward and laid out for me. For most of college, I accepted this as my path. Well, in my fourth year, I started to question if a career in teaching would make me happy. And the answer was no. The truth was, I felt stuck. Stuck in a major that only had one career path, stuck in a future job that I knew was not right for me, and stuck in fear that I would be unhappy with the path I had walked down. I realized that in my current situation, I was not being honest with myself. I was holding on to a dream that wasn't right for me anymore. I knew I had to make a change. I knew I wanted to grow closer to God. I knew I no longer wanted to pursue a career in teaching. Admitting that to myself lifted a huge weight off my shoulders, and in being honest with myself, I became closer to God. I felt my umbrella lifting. Well, now what? I had decided to take a break from college until I figured out what I really wanted to study, but I had no idea of where to go from there. Then, on the very day that I had made the decision not to be a teacher, I scrolled past an advertisement for the Episcopal Service Corps on Instagram. Suddenly, it all became clear. This is what I needed: to discern my path, grow in faith, and live in an intentional community. For the first time in a long time, I felt energized, captivated, and deeply hopeful. I felt the waterfalls mist. As a Seattle Service Corps member, I am closer to God every day because I can be honest with myself and others. Through my service work at Mercy Housing Northwest, I get to help families living in low-income housing by providing them early childhood services. This work has helped me realize that I can fill my desire to work with children in more places than a classroom. I still don't know what that means for my long-term career, but I know my options are unlimited. Living in a Christian intentional community has filled my spiritual needs. I feel so lucky to live in a community where sharing our faith is celebrated and encouraged. I'm so thankful that the Seattle Service Corps came into my life at this moment. I feel the mist from God's waterfall, now more than ever. Thank you so much.